wonderful, beautiful speaker spark today. And her name is Kelley Bashew. I hope I said that correctly. And she is going to share a bit of her story today. When you see her, you can find her in your gallery screen and, right now, but you can see just her energy is just so beautiful, and I can't wait for her to share. So she was born Rose Ann Owen in Sisseton, South Dakota in 1963. And I don't want to get this wrong, so I will ask her to share the name of the tribe, but she is an enrolled member of the Sisseton tribe in the Lake Traverse Reservation. And when she comes on, she will share the name of that tribe, unless she cares to jump in right now and share it. Okay. So Kelley was adopted at 3 months old, and 7 years ago, she found her birth family at the age of 50. And it's been an amazing journey for her, one that has taught her so many things about herself and also what being Indigenous means to her. She always knew she was Native American, but she never really met another Native American until she was 50. And when she went to South Dakota to meet her family, she was able to meet fellow Native Americans. She's been back many times since and has learned of her heritage traditions and taken part in many of the ceremonies there. She's proud to say she is a sun dancer, and she wants to share her journey of discovery, which has been filled with more emotions than she sometimes knows what to do with. It's a journey she could not have taken without the support of her adopted family and her 4 children. She doesn't like using the terms birth and adopted because they are all her family. But when telling her story, this helps. Kelley's a mom to 4 great kids: Shane, 32, Courtney, 30, Eddie, 19, and Colleen, 16. She has 1 granddaughter, Ella, who's 4. She lives in Meadowbrook, Pennsylvania, with her fiance, Dave, and her 2 youngest children. So if you will, let's give a very warm circle welcome to Kelley Bashew.
Good morning, everybody. I really want to thank you, and thank you for that introduction. It was very sweet. I want to thank also Maureen for her words, because listening to them, it just solidified more how my path has brought me to this place today, because what she talked about is how I've been feeling about coming home. So thank you for that. I just wanted to start out. It's Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate. Oyate means family. I was born in 1963 to Hiram and Lillian Owen. I was given up for adoption at 3 months old. My parents here, Andre and Salvatore Petrilli, could not have children. So they went through the path of the Catholic Church. They were told they went through the whole process, and then was told that the process would take about a year. But within that year, the church called in the priest and said that, we have a Native American baby for you, and would you be interested? And they said yes. So they hopped on a plane and went and got me. Soon after that, when they brought me home, my mom became pregnant, even though she was told she could not. And she had 5 siblings after me. So I turned out to be oldest of 6 here. I was raised in Glenside. So it's 5 girls and 1 boy. Then I went, growing up adopted was very difficult. Even though you're in a loving family, you never have that sense of belonging, that sense of soul belonging. But because I had a good family, I never went looking. I didn't want to make any waves, and I just stayed. But when I turned 50, I started having these thoughts that if I'm 50 and my mom was 20 when she had me, she'd be 7. You know, I just started thinking it's time to look. And I met someone who helped me in that journey. And he kept saying, oh, don't you want to know your culture? Don't you want to know where you came from? And I was like, okay. He just pushed me in that. And this is where all the spirit came into all of this. This is where the journey of being guided has helped, because I started looking at the signs that were in front of me, things I had not done before in my life. And my life reflected that, because I lived a life of a lot of turmoil, a lot of self-hatred, a lot of, I guess it wasn't completely full. But when I turned 50 and started looking at these signs is when everything just fell into place, and I knew I was on the right path. I petitioned a judge in South Dakota to have my original birth certificate open. I was granted, and they mailed it out to me. That when I opened it, that's when I found out that it had said 7 live births before. And I was like, what? I was like, I was the 8th child. I was so surprised. And it comes that I'm actually second youngest of 9, 6 girls and 3 boys. As soon as I found out, I went on the internet and I found a woman who specializes in Native American adoptions. And she, of all the people on the internet that you could go to, I found somebody who knew somebody in Sisseton, which is this tiny little town in South Dakota. The nearest town of Fargo is 90 miles away. It's in the middle of, to me, nowhere. And she knew somebody there. So then again, that's another sign that I knew I was on the right path. This man worked at one of the casinos, and he says, I told him my name, I told him my parents' name, and so he said he would ask around. I guess within 2 weeks, he called me and said, I just spoke to your brother. And I was like, oh my God, and I was so excited. And then just within a few days, my sisters do a taco stand, an Indian taco stand at the powwow that you just were watching. And it was over the weekend, and on Monday night, they all called me on a group chat thing. And I cannot tell you how happy I was to hear their voices, to know, because I would, you're nervous. You don't know what you're going to find. So within 3 weeks, I was out in South Dakota. I drove out, and I was never nervous with this journey. After finding them, I just knew that I was now with family, that I belong. I had this connection to them that I cannot explain. I went to, the day I went back was the last day of our Sundance, and I never even heard of a Sundance. I didn't know anything about it, but now I know how sacred it is to us and how important that spirit brought me back on that day, on that last day. I was brought to my mom's house, and I went in, and again, I wasn't even nervous. I just knew I belonged there. I went in, and there she was. I could tell as she was standing up on top of, she has like a bi-level, has like a split level, and she was standing up there, and I saw her, and I went over to her, and we just hugged. And I remember that feeling of just complete, like just two beings just coming together, and just feeling that love from her, and just feeling all this pain just go away. And it was funny because when we sat down next to each other, I don't even know if she remembers, but she sat down and she put her hand on my leg, and she kept her hand there, and she never moved it. It was almost like she just wanted to keep feeling me close to her. And it was just such a wonderful moment of everybody there. And there were so many people, like I said, I'm second youngest of 9. Well, that includes like cousins, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, there were so many people. I was like, oh my, I was like, I look like them. I was so happy that I look like somebody, you know, not knowing your families, you have that, but when you don't have that and you see it, it was just such a wonderful moment. I kept staring at people. They probably thought I was crazy, but so after we had that moment at her house, we went over to the Sundance grounds. And again, I still didn't really know what it was. And my sister, Crystal, was dancing. And we sat in the Sundance, it's like a big circle. And in the circle, there's a tree. And on this tree, there are ties of prayers. So it's almost like, it's like ties of tobacco. And then you put them on there and that's your prayer. And that's what the dancers are praying for. They're healers, and they're praying for those prayers that are hanging. And I was watching her, I saw her coming around and I saw her dancing, and I'll never forget her looking at me and me looking at her, and just that feeling, her smile, and she looked at me, and I just, oh. So I watched her dance, and I still was sitting next to my mom. We were still touching each other. And she was explaining the ceremony. She was explaining everything that was happening. And at that moment, I also knew that I was going to become a sun dancer. I said, I am going to do that. And it was very hard. It's a 4-day ceremony where you dance, you don't eat, you don't drink, you just dance and pray. But I knew that this is something that I was being pulled towards. After the ceremony was over, my brother Jody, he's my youngest brother, born right after me. He said that they were going to bring me into the circle. And so everybody at my family went, my mom, me. Now my dad passed in '88, so I never got to meet him. I went into the circle, and I never knew about sage. I never knew about that the taking the sage and just brushing it over you to clear, to release all that negative feelings that you have, to smell it. I've never even smelled it. And it just made me feel so good to do that. Like just that moment of doing something native, doing something that our people do. And it was such a powerful moment. So we all walked into the circle and we went to the tree. The tree is very tall, and it had all these beautiful flags on it. They're red, yellow, black, white. It's so pretty, blowing in the wind. And we walked over to it, and we all touched it, and we all put our hands on it, and we all prayed to the Creator to say thank you. Thank you for bringing me home. Thank you for bringing me to my family. Thank you for this journey that you put me on. And just praying with my mom, with my brothers, with my sisters, just being there, released so much inside of me. Because I at that moment, I am now home. This is it. This is where I belong. These are my people. Even though I love my adoptive family, my family is here in Glenside are amazing. So I never want to, that was a part of me not finding them, because I never wanted to make them feel like they're, just, we're all family. So afterwards, after we were done praying, they brought my mom and I over, and we were sitting kind of like on the edge of the circle. And everybody who was there from the tribe, everybody got in a line, and they came around. They'd given me a star quilt, which is a big quilt with a star, like a quilted into it. So I had that wrapped around me. And everybody came up to me and hugged me or shook my hand and said, welcome home. I mean, every single person there. And I think that goes to who this community, or who the Native people are, where family is the most important thing. And you are a family, like, I'm found, like, my sisters and brothers, their grandchildren are my grandchildren. Their children are my children. they would call me grandmom, or Kusi. Kusi is how you say grandma. And that was a big, powerful thing to me, because growing up in a different world, even though I had a sense of family, it's always almost, it's just a little different. I can't explain why, but when you're there, everybody you meet is your family, is your part of your tribe. And to have everybody come to me and welcome me home was like a truly, truly amazing experience. Afterwards, we just got to spend time with with my mom and my sisters and my brother, and it was just so beautiful. And I never wanted to leave. And every time I go back, I cry, or I cry when I go back because I'm so happy, and I cry when I leave because I don't want to leave. But when I'm there, I just feel so at home. I know one day I will be there to live. I just know it. So afterwards, I would come home, and I try to get back at least once or twice a year. I try to go back. 2 years ago, I became a sun dancer. I started talking to my sister and my brother about it, and they guided me and they helped me learn what to do, because I had no idea. They helped me do the sun dance, and it was very hard. I mean, not drinking, not eating, dancing all day, praying all day is very powerful. It's just something that I know now, that when you become a sun dancer, you're almost a healer. I don't mean like I can heal, a disease or anything, but I believe I can heal people's spirit and their soul, or their hurting. So that's basically my story, except the thing I've learned mostly about being Native American is that everything I've been doing my whole life has been, I was Native American even though I didn't know what I was doing. I was very guided in nature. I'm very, like I was just talking to my sister yesterday, and before I do the Sundance, you have to do certain things, and I couldn't do all of them. I couldn't be in a sweat lodge. I couldn't do that out here. I didn't know anybody. So he told me to go out in nature, to walk barefoot, to sit in the forest, to sit and just be one and be quiet. And that's what I've been doing. And I really wish a lot more people would do that, because it just makes you feel so good and so peaceful and so quiet. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned, is how to become one with that world. And I know out here in this busy world that we live in now, it's so difficult. And a lot of people like, why are you walking barefoot? Me and my own kids. But it just connects you, when you're in the ocean, when you're in the water, it connects you. When you're standing outside in a forest, it connects you. And it brings you back to who you really are. That's what I believe. That silence of listening to the wind, feeling the dirt underneath your feet, all of that brings us back. And I believe that that's a path that I've been put on, and something that I truly just want to keep doing and keep following. Before the Sundance, we did a ceremony called a spirit ceremony, and you basically meditate. You're in a room that's dark. All you hear is drummers. And I was in there meditating, and I saw an old man come to me. And he came to me, and I saw him, and I just knew I knew him. I knew that he's been following me my whole life, because like I said before, I found my family, and in my teens and in my 20s, I was very lost. But nothing really bad ever happened, because I know I was being protected for something else. And when I saw this man, I knew that that was him. I've seen him multiple times now. Mostly when I meditate, I feel him. He's spoken to me. And yesterday I was talking to my sister, Crystal, and I told her that I see this, and she told me about our grandfather, who was also a healer. And I know now that that was him. I know that that's him watching over me, because I believe that he knew that my mom and my dad and my siblings couldn't watch over me at that time when I was out here in this world. So he did it. He was guiding me, he was watching me, and he guided me back to this world, to my Native American roots, to my family. And this morning, because I'm pretty shy, and this is a lot for me to do. And I was out walking the dog, and I was talking to him, and I just asked him to guide my words, to be next to me, to hold me when I'm doing this, and be with me. And I think if all of us opened up to that world, and you listened, like truly listened, like if I could tell you how many feathers and how many, I know some people get that, like, but when I'm out walking, I find feathers everywhere. I find these signs. Signs are put in front of us all the time. And a lot of people just go by. They don't even see them. They're so busy, so thinking about, everything else, that you don't quiet your mind to that. And I find them and I bring them back, and I tell Dave, or I tell my kids, look, I found a feather. And they're like, by this time, they're like, oh, okay. But they're all over our house now. And I know there's signs telling me that I'm on the right path. Everything happens for a reason. I just wish people could quiet their minds and see those spirit guided messages that we do receive. Because if I receive them, I know other people do. And it's just an amazing experience when you open yourself up to that. But that's basically, I just want to thank everybody for having me today, for letting me talk. I'm just really grateful for all of you for doing this. Again, that was another spirit thing. I just happened to go, I saw it. I happened to go to the Awakening Center. I met Karen, and she's the one who sent me here. So all these signs, and I kept saying, I have to listen to them. I have to let go of that fear of telling my story. I have to let go of that. And then it's such a great feeling when you do that. When you let go of the fear inside of you, it opens you up to so much more too. Because you just feel so much more at peace with yourself. And you know that you have that creator, that divine spirit inside of you. And he's always, always, always going to guide you in the right path. And you just have to listen. And then look where it brought me. It brought me home to my family. It brought me to you people. It brought me to my fiance, Dave. It just brought me to so much just because I've been listening. I mean, it's hard sometimes, but you just got to keep moving, to keep listening to that spirit and to that divine person inside of you. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.